All right, everybody, welcome to the rating improvement series. This is going to be for beginners rated from 0 to 800. So I picked an opponent who just played his first move, e4, from the Netherlands. So good luck. So my goal in this series is to explain my thought process and tell you what to do and what not to do to get better at chess. Okay, looks like my opponent plays the center game. It is an opening, although I'm not so sure that he knows it. Okay, queen comes out too early. This is something that you probably shouldn't do because of the following reason. When you bring your queen out too early, it gets hit like a ping pong ball. Yeah, queen is coming here. It's not a safe place for the queen. I can't take advantage of it right now, so I'm going to follow the basic principle of the opening, which is to bring out your knights and bishops to the center, this area right there, quickly, and then castle. So that is the main plan you should follow in the opening stage. Okay, my opponent is still not doing that. His pieces are watching TV, as I like to tease the kids. They're watching Netflix right now. All right, now I should bring out my pieces more. I need to develop my bishop. It doesn't really have a great place to go. I noticed that I have an idea here, d5. The reason for this move is to fight for the middle, get rid of that pawn. It's sufficiently protected, but also to open the door for my bishop. So in the opening stage, you're supposed to try to move these center pawns so that your bishops can come out and then you can castle. Then you can bring your rooks out, etc. So you're allowed to move those two center pawns in the first 5-10 moves because it helps you bring out your bishops. All right, let's see what he plays. Looks like he's taking his time here. Queen a4. And once again, another queen move. All right, I think I should take that pawn because I guess it's a little weaker there. I could also continue developing my bishop. They're both good options. I'm going to take the pawn because it opens up my queen. Okay, that's called activation of a piece. He's probably going to take it back with the pawn. And then I can decide if I should develop my bishop on the king side or the queen's bishop to g4. Bishops love open diagonals. So there's no pawn in the way. It can see all the way through, right? That's an open diagonal. So how do we know that black's better in this position? Because remember in the opening stage, you're supposed to bring out your minor pieces and develop your pieces, right? So I've developed 2 minor pieces. White has 0. So I'm closer to getting castled. I'm closer to generating an attack against the king. So the rule in the opening is develop, 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 center, center, center. All right. Let's develop this bishop on c5 to c5. Now I can castle, and it's attacking squares in the opponent's territory, which is a good rule in general. How do you know a piece is well placed? It is putting pressure inside the opponent's camp. That's why I chose this bishop. When you're playing black, especially, you're one move behind. So I usually like to develop my king's bishop, and because it allows me to castle a bit faster, my king is then safe, and the rook can come in and attack. h3, another pawn move. All right, I'm going to castle, which is the classic method. Development is going very smoothly while white has neglected, Jesus Christ, right? Complete neglecting the development here. All right, bishop d3. Finally, he develops a minor piece. Maybe it's a little too late. I don't know. We'll see. I'm already seeing tactics now. Okay, since my opponent has neglected development so badly, I'm going to show you a tactic. Knight takes e4. Be really clever here because if he takes with the queen, the rook e8 would be a nice little pin in the queen. If we take the bishop, I notice that this check would be devastating. You can sacrifice material in chess if it weakens the opponent's king and you can start a brutal attack against the king. So this is one of those situations where sacrificing is okay because we are such a lead in development. Take with the queen, but now we have rook to e8. An absolute pin. Absolute pin is when the opponent's piece cannot move because it's protecting the highest value piece, which is the king. So can't go anywhere here. So once again, we see why castling is so important, because when the battlefield opens up in the center, you don't want to be caught without your castling, which I call like putting on your pants. It's castling in my stream, so you don't want to be caught with your pants down. Okay, we won the queen. So black has a material advantage. Now, when you have a material advantage, you don't win automatically. We still have to use the pieces. So let's bring out the pieces more, right? So bishop can develop. I also like this move, knight d4, because I'm adding pressure onto the pinned knight and making it, hard for him to protect this. My next move would be bishop f5. The reason I want to play bishop f5 next is because there are two people guarding this, and there are two people attacking this. So what I would need to do is remove one of the guards, which is the bishop. So bishop f5 would help me eliminate that, because if he takes, then there's a little mate right there. And if he doesn't take, my bishop will go ahead and grab the bishop. Takes two moves, though. He could technically castle, but then I would just take the knight, and it'll be a double check. Okay, he plays c3. That's not a bad move. I can do bishop f5 anyway. The reason is that if he took my knight, it's my turn. I'll take the bishop. Then if he takes my bishop, I have a mate. So it's kind of like a fair trade. I've spoken about this before. When you have an aggressive and a better position, one of the ways to defend something would be to counterattack something else, even more valuable. But this only works if you're in a better position. So here, we have a queen for for rook. Things are going great. I don't know how the opponent is going to defend this. Doesn't look like... Yeah, there's really little he can do about this whole threat. He takes, but allowing a checkmate. Poison kiss, checkmate. Okay, so that was a good game on illustrating why you should castle, and why we should develop the minor pieces, and why it's a wrong idea to bring the queen out, because it allows me to develop my minor piece with tempo, which means that tempo means time, move. So when you move queen again, you're losing tempo. And it also shows why it's good to open up the center when you have a lead in development, and how that can transform into tactics. So knight e4 was a nice shot. The point was that if the bishop took, I could sneak in with check. And then if he goes here, it's already mate. And if he goes here, I can continue the attack. And this was kind of intuitive. I didn't calculate the whole sequence, but I know that eventually the king outright like this, my experience has showed me that usually this leads to some checkmate. Maybe I'll bring the bishop out and I will get back what I sacrificed and more. And if he went here, I can check with the rook. There's so many good moves here. There's knight b4, knight d4, rook d8 check. So intuitively, this sacrifice was quite good, but not the only way to do it. Okay, let's move on to the next game. Okay, so we got another game with a 695 from the United States. Good luck. He plays e4, I played e5. So we're going to a common opening line when you're beginner, and he deviates. He should develop the minor pieces. That's a pawn move that's away from the center, and I don't think that's the best use of tempo. So I'm going to continue that. All right, so knight's developed. Now it's time for the bishop to develop. I like to put my bishop on this diagonal in general, eyeballing that soft spot. Okay, another pawn move. I'm going to castle, just like the last game. Putting the minor pieces near the center and then castling. And remember last game we did this move to open the center? We're going to do it again. d5. The reason I'm doing it now is that when I trade pawns, it opens up files and diagonals, right? So the side that has more development, has more pieces out, should open files and diagonals. Now, I knew that this pawn was hanging, but this is all part of the plan. I'll tell you why. It's a sacrifice of a pawn that opens up a file to the king. So one pawn, in the grand scheme of things, it's okay to lose if it means that you get a lot of checks against the king etc. And now you can already see that we're going to win back the pawn with interest. So I can take the pawn right now and win it back, which is what I'm going to do. Take the pawn. King is still in the middle while mine is castled. Okay. So now I could take with the rook, which direct check. I could take with the knight. I could check here. I could also trade. So many good options. It's like a buffet. All right, which is the best one? All are good. All right, we're going to keep it classy with rook takes e4 check. He can't take my queen because it's a check. So he needs to block with his bishop, which allows him to castle. But wait, there's more. Queen e7. A battery along the e file. Now if he castles, I can grab the bishop because the king is no longer protecting it. And I saw this move too. But once again, because the king is in the center, we can use that to a tactical advantage. A pin, an absolute pin. Just like the last game. So he's protecting his bishop, but we're pinning the knight now. How do you even defend this? Okay, he defends the queen, but here's a situation called overloaded piece. This queen is guarding the knight and the bishop. So all we got to do is to take the knight. The queen, it's like a server juggling a lot of plates. It can't protect everything. So we want a piece back now. We want a free piece, I mean. And he can't castle. Wonderful. All right. I'm going to focus on development. I know my pawn is hanging, but when we're in a better position, we should try to make more threats instead of defending. There's no need to defend. So I'm going to allow him to take this pawn, but I'm going to win the pawn back in return. And trading is okay. All right. He does this move. He wants me to take. He takes. It's a fair trade. Since I'm in a position of strength, I'm just going to play this move. If he takes, my queen comes in with check. So you don't always have to take. Sometimes you let them take. You just protect. If them taking you makes you go forward. Okay. That move adds another defender. So there's 3 people defending the rook and three people attacking the rook. Let me do a little remove the guard action now. Knight d5. Attacking the queen. Maybe he'll, I can chase away the guard. Very common tactic called remove the guard. So what does he do here? He's in big trouble. That's the only move I saw. I smell tactics, checkmates. I smell all kinds of stuff. There's another remove the guard here. The queen has to stay on the diagonal, right? What if I played like b6? It's kind of poetic. Sometimes when your army is in full battle, then the smallest thing can make a difference when your opponent is maxed out. Or maybe we can call it like Lord of the Rings, where the Hobbit, everyone has a role to play. So everyone's fighting, but even the simple pawn can do the last important jobs. Okay, that's fine. I check, and now we see that the Hobbit pawn is going to take the queen. Everyone has a role to play. Thank you very much. And we want a full queen. And yeah, it's going to be checkmate soon. Knight to e3 and then collect the pawn. Checkmate. I'm expecting resignation soon. So this was a good game on explaining why you should castle. Once again, we could see in the under 800 rating range that a lot of people don't castle, right? A lot of people don't castle. They play moves on the side. As long as you follow the principle of controlling the center, put a pawn there, knights out to the middle, bishops out to open diagonals, castle, and if they still stay in the middle, we open the center, even if it means sacrificing a pawn. And then we can use the open files to launch an attack against the king. And usually there'll be more tactics like pins. There's 2 pins in this game because the king is there. The straight file pin and the diagonal pin from here. And that converted into a free piece. And then we just kept developing. Notice how all of our pieces were used. Even a pawn was used while this rook was watching TV because it never castled. So I hope this game was illustrating all the important things to do. Let's move on to the next game. Okay, we got another game. Playing black again. Let's play e4, e5. Playing somebody from Germany. Knight f3, knight c6. Here we go. He's playing the Italian. Okay, that is a great opening. I'm going to bring my knight out as usual. Bring the knight to the center. And then the bishop out. Similar square to him, actually. We might get an almost symmetrical position. So what is our plan in the opening? To develop and castle. Develop these guys and castle. Now, oh, there's a pin here. This is a very common beginner opening. So let's really pay attention here. I'm going to play d6. It looks very symmetrical. The only thing is white has played bishop g5 instead of knight c3. Normally you want to castle, but if he castles here, I'm going to show you something pretty cool. One of the exceptions to the rule on how to deal with an early pin. Well, I guess we're not going to see it now. I'll explain it after the game. Queen f6. This is a common mistake that people make. Making two moves with the bishop, which is the same value as a knight, and then taking it. So white spent two moves to take a knight that moved once, and black's queen is out. So now we're going to be the ones doing the pin. And this pin, there's a name for it. When I was teaching the kids, I called this the monster pin. Rawr. And why is it the monster pin? Well, this pin is near the king side, and when you take that knight and you have a lot of pressure on it, the pawn has to take back, and the king is open. So that's kind of why it's called a monster pin. Yeah. How do we take advantage of the monster pin? You go knight d4. If he takes the knight, he loses the whole queen. And if he moves the queen, we can take the knight, which is attacked so many times, by the way. And then he'd have to take with the pawn. And it's going to be really sad. Yeah, this is not working out well for white. In fact, he just put his queen on the mouth of the bishop. Now, we're winning in so many ways. We can take the queen. I can even ignore the queen and then just take with the bishop. Yeah, his king is open too. So everything is going wrong for black here. And he resigns. Okay, actually this gives me an opportunity to explain what the monster pin is. So this pin right there is called the monster pin. So white could also do the same thing with knight c3 here. And if I castle, it would be a horrible move. I will be in the same fate. So that happens, and then let's say I make a random move like 8-6, horrible. He takes, and look at how bad this is. So knowing this would happen, I will not castle. One of the exceptions when I don't castle is when there's a monster pin. I would have played, after castle, let's say, or knight c3, I would have played 8-6, bishop h4, and I would play g5 here. Breaking the pin. Goes here, and I would make my own little pin. Maybe wondering, what's going on with the castle situation? Well, I can also castle the queen side. That's why there's two-side castling. So I broke the pin there, and if you castle this way, I can actually start to do the monster pin myself and attack with my pawns, and then my king will be safe here. So there's a rule where the monster pin happens. You may break it with this if you haven't castled yet. Okay? But the opponent did not try to increase the monster pin pressure. He just gave it up. That allowed me to get my queen out and then do the monster pin myself, which he should have blocked with c3 here to prevent the knight from coming in. But he didn't. Not only did he not stop it, he actually made it easier for me to come in with my knight. Kind of waved the flag, hey, come and get me. And I was able to do this. So that's a good game showing the monster pin attack. All right, next one. Okay, we're black this time, playing somebody from the UK. Right. Good luck. d4 opening. All right, I'll play d5. I want to play a symmetrical opening in the starting because it's a very classic development. Put a pawn in the center. Allows you to bring the bishop out, knight out, and castle. Now, I would like to recommend you to castle kingside, especially as black. The reason is, especially in d4, you want to go knight f6, pawn e6, bishop e7 or d6 and castle. I'll explain why I want to castle kingside. Because if you castle queenside, there's going to be an attack with the queen's gambit style. So against d4 openings, you generally want to castle kingside. Okay? And I would like you to develop this bishop first, because this bishop wouldn't help you castle this way, right? Okay, that's a lot of wasteful moves, by the way. So I'm going to play e6. Remember to develop the bishop. And then I'll castle first. So once that's out of the way, then I can think about developing the other piece and opening the center, which we'll talk about soon. Bishop d6. He's playing a lot of pawn moves. He's not developing his minor pieces. One of the fundamental rules. I'm going to castle next. Now, after I castle, I can decide to develop my knight over here. But then my bishop is really sad. But I have a plan for that. I'm going to play e5 and then bring my bishop out. Okay, knight c6. Play e5. Another option I had was to play c5 first and then knight c6 because this pawn would put pressure on the center. And that center, usually you should try to play in this area of the board in the beginning because conquering this is like, conquering the top of the hill. You have everything goes from here. You have a better influence over the whole board when you're in the middle, right? So let me castle first. He's moving a lot of pawns once again. A lot of pawn movements here. So my development is very healthy. The only unhealthy piece is the bishop. All right. Now, I'm going to play rook e8 to guard e5 a bit more. And then my next move is going to be e5, which will allow me to develop the bishop. There we go. Finally, the plan is unraveling. So what if he doesn't take my pawn? My plan is to gain space with e4, chasing the knight away. He took. Okay, knight takes. So do you see how I'm conquering the middle a bit more? Take with the bishop. Bishop is now very happy. So I have a more of a advantage in the center, and I have more development. So black is slightly better here. I'm predicting that he's going to castle kingside. Then I would develop the rest of my pieces. Okay, that's an attacking move, but it's a bad one because he's moved the bishop again, and I have an easy block. And this is a useful move anyway because I make a pawn chain and guard my pawn even further, reinforcing this pawn. You're not supposed to move the same piece again and again because you're spending time. And that time should be used to castle and get improve your pieces. But he's giving me free time to improve my pieces and aim for an attack. So my next move is going to be bishop f5. Look at this beautiful centralized pieces. Oh yeah. All right, he makes a mistake. Because of my centralized piece, I can actually grab a pawn here. He moved his knight away from the attack. See, when you're in the center, your pieces are much more active, and he just drops the bishop. His rook was almost trapped, by the way. Yeah. So you can see centralized, good active pieces just attacks more things and gets you in a better position. All right, we go back. I'll pin the knight. So now we're already winning. Okay, nice little pin here. And my bishop's under attack. So when something is pinned, you should add pressure to it. That's a nice move because it protects my bishop and it adds the pressure on the pinned piece. We've seen this before. So I'm going to win material the next move. So I will take the knight with my knight. The reason is, well, I could take him with the bishop too, actually. Maybe it was smart to take with the bishop because it was check. Ooh, okay. This is a point where I think a lot here because there's a lot going on. So we had a fair trade. Now, if I move my knight, it's going to be a check. But my bishop's also under attack, so it's a bit confusing. Knight e4 is a check that protects my bishop too. That makes a lot of sense. How about queen f6, guarding the bishop? Ooh, that's a great move. Because we are attacking their bishop and guarding our bishop, and we're kind of saving the discovered check for better movement. This would have been great to win the queen, but then he would save his queen and take my bishop. So now I'm preparing. Now we can do this. Yes. So when we have a great active pieces, usually the tactics work in our favor. Yeah, it's over now. Up a queen, attack. Probably more tactics to come. So what did he do wrong in this game? He moved a lot of pawns, right? A lot of pawns on the side. He didn't castle. And then he moved, so we just castled and opened the center, which is a good thing to do. Take advantage of the king in the middle. And then he wasted more time with the bishop move. We centralized our piece. Okay, by the way, he just moved here. He updated. Do we have a mate here? Unfortunately, no checkmate. So you know what? Open the center. When the king is in the middle, you open the center. That allows us to get more lanes to attack the king. Okay, he's attacking our queen. That's a good move. Now I have a check, which actually picks up the rook. This is called a skewer. So he's going to go here. Then I grab that rook. So once again, going back to that position of he wasted too many turns, right? And then he lost the pawn. And then we just pinned this guy. And yeah, nice little double attack. So doing your tactics will help you find these kind of discard attack pins. It improves your pattern recognition. So I recommend everyone to do tactics on chess.com or Lichess or wherever. And it'll help you take advantage of good situations like this. Okay, take that rook. It's only a matter of time. Maybe I should tell you guys a joke while we're waiting. Okay, get the rook in the game. Last piece. Last piece in the game. And is there a mate here? Not yet. Bring the queen back. Check, protect the knight. He's going to go back here. Then I open the floodgates with DE4. Man, oh man. I think there's a checkmate in one now. We go here, it's mate. That's a mate. Okay, good game. Let's move to the next one. Okay, we got another game. Somebody from Belgium? Romania. I was totally off on that one. E4, E5. Okay, good luck, Alex. Let's play knight C6. Again, I recommend putting a pawn in the middle and developing your minor pieces and castling as quickly as possible. Ooh, we're going to get a 4 knights. 4 knights is one of the oldest chess openings. Can you guess why it's called the 4 knights, by the way? Okay. Plays bishop C4. I could do a little tricky idea here. All right, I'm going to teach you something in the 4 knights. There's something called the center fork trick. Now, remember I said controlling the middle is everything, the best strategy? Well, we have a trick here, giving up a knight and then trying to get it back. What it does is clears up the center a bit and opens our lines for our pieces. So it's basically a fair trade. But guess what happened? You can kind of clearly see that black has somehow overtaken the middle. And oh my goodness, my poor opponent has just lost his knight. Uh-oh. Oh, that didn't work out well. All right, so we're up a knight, I guess. Let's win this game in a clean way, shall we? All right, I want to still mate the king. Let's put the queen right there. Because you know what? One of the ways to successfully attack is to have your queen like on top of the king side. I'll explain. By the way, he's attacking this pawn. You know, we should not just focus on what we want to do. We should probably focus on what they want to do as well. Once in a while. Bishop there. Guard this guy and develop. Right? Now we can castle. Although in this position, I might end up castling the other side. We'll see. We'll see. He played d4. Okay, 1, 2, 3. That's a lot of people. 1, 2. So now, what are some ways to defend this pawn? I can help, or I can run with the pawn, which I really like. Because, yeah, now it's protected, and it's kind of attacking this pawn. Although, since I haven't castled, I can't really take that knight. But once I castle, it will become a useful pawn as well. All right, he's attacking my knight. Remember I said, when we're in a position of strength, we can ignore the opponent's threats sometimes if we make a bigger counter threat. And that's what we just did. I evacuated my king. So it was a fair trade of knight for knight, but my pawn is an attacking unit. Now, how do we know if an attack is going to be successful? And how do we even make a successful attack? Well, I'm going to introduce you to the term of local superiority. What the heck does that mean? Well, local superiority means That's the local, by the way, the king side. We just have to build a superiority of force in this locality. So that's one guy there. And probably queen can sneak in here. The bishops are pointing. There's not many defenders. This rook doesn't really count as a defender because rook's kind of, it's stuck. So it's almost like 0-1 right now. So if we add more people, that'll be probably going to be checkmate, right? So there's a rule of 2. If you have 2 attackers and your opponent has 0 defenders, then in the king side, it's probably not going to end well for the king there, So I got 1. I'm going to bring in 2. When I teach the kids, I call it the helper and the hunter. All right, the hunter helper. Ooh, if I go here, he's going to take my helper away. So let's reinforce the helper with this move. I don't care about the pawn, right? Again, we're going for mate. We don't care about the pawn. So I'm helping my helper help me checkmate. All right. So if I sneak in over here, I think it's game over, right? Adios, amigos. I don't think the queen can come around. If this queen was here, he would have challenged me. Yep. Okay. So that game, let's recap really quickly. I showed you what the center 4 trick is. Only in this position, though. We got to go here and then get it back later. We didn't really gain any material for this because I sacrificed my knight and my pawn to get a pawn and a bishop. So it was the same exact trade, but it gave me like a command over the center. And then he just blundered his piece, unfortunately. And then I did that local superiority thing, right? I castled. And the local superiority can help us create a checkmating attack. I did the sneaky sneak. And there we go. Okay, on to the next game. All right, we got another game. I think the opponent is from Poland. E4. Opponent would like to chat. He says WTF. Surprise face. Good luck. Opponent is still in shock. Okay, he's playing the... He says WTF at an FM. Okay. All right, he plays the knight set. Now, this is an interesting point. My opponent is developing the pieces regularly, but he didn't quite put a pawn in the center. So when we have 2 pawns in the center like this, we can use it to kind of steamroll the opponent. Once again, so c4. That's why you want to put 1 pawn in the center at least. It allows us to, the pawn in the center will block each other. If we don't, it kind of gets bullied a little bit, right? All right, let's continue developing. Knight c3 makes sense. I could have played c5, but then he would come back here and it's kind of complicated. So I don't want to overdo it. Let me just get the center. Okay, now c5 makes sense. Look at our space advantage. Our pawns have pushed farther into the territory, and I didn't spend too much time because this knight moved like 4 times, right? So moving too many pawns in the opening is considered to be bad, but if you're doing it with attacking something, you're not really spending a tempo. Okay, knight c4. That knight looks suspicious. It's kind of in my territory now because I got into space. This is mine now. So there is a way to try to win this knight. b3, knight a5. That's a really sad knight. Let's do that, shall we? Another idea is to play this, by the way. You know what? I'm gonna win the. Let's calculate this. Here, check. Forking this guy. So this is a tactic called remove the guard with a fork. Once again, when you don't castle, I can try to take advantage of the king position. So now there's a fork, and I'm winning a pawn, and I'll take with the bishop because I am developing the bishop with tempo. The queen has to move again. So probably the queen will go maybe here. Okay, but now we can defend and develop the base pieces. The mantra in the opening is develop, develop, develop. By the way, there's a cool tactic soon. I noticed that the king and the queen are on white squares. And I noticed that this would be an attack on these guys, and I'm already attacking this. So can I put everything together? All three characters, all five characters, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. They have something in common, right? And I can use it right now. Bishop f7 would be nice. Let's do it. Now, he can decline the sacrifice, which I think he will do. No, he doesn't. Uh-oh. I'm sorry. You fell right into the trap. So when you have active pieces like this and you didn't castle, tactics just fly from all over the place. Right? And now you win the queen. So that's why you should put it in the center and put your pieces on open diagonals. Good game. I'll tell him this was for a YouTube video. All right, moving on. Okay, this might be the final game. I just played e4. My opponent played e6. He plays the French. I'm playing somebody from the US, actually. Oh no, he's bringing the queen out too early. And the bishop. Yeah, you're supposed to bring, at least put one pawn kind of in the middle. Again, if you have these two pawns here, we can use them to chase away the larger pieces. And in this case, we have a fork. That's why I recommend everybody to play e5 in the beginning to kind of block that pawn, right? Okay, queen f5. Ooh, I can actually do it. This is a funny thing I could try. I know I could take the bishop, but there's a line where the queen goes here. Then I play h3. Then the queen takes the pawn. Then I play rook h2, and that's a rook trap. I've seen this so many times. This particular pattern, the poison pawn pattern. The queen is, she gone. If you go here, g4, the queen is gone. There's no protecting. Every square is covered. Ooh, different colors. So yeah. I don't think he can escape. Everything's covered, so that's the only move. And rook h2 is a cool move because the rook's protected here and it protects the pawn. Bishop g4 check. Okay, that's desperation. I can counter his check with the threat of my own, and nothing has changed in that situation. He's still in a double attack. And remember this move, rook h2? I believe that's a trap of a queen. So no matter what happens, I think he's losing a queen. So that's why we should not bring the queen out too early. Okay, grab the bishop. That doesn't change anything. So we can see in this level, the beginner to 800, bringing the queen out more, not control the center, is more common. And that's how we can punish it, with using our pawns to chase away the queen, using our minor pieces to develop and attack the queen at the same time. These are some ways to take advantage of the opponent's mistakes. All right, that's another free pawn. I could take that. I'm just going to bring my queen out and attack this. I'm going for a quick victory here. All right. I could en croissant, but I'm going to grab this pawn and then win the rook. Again, the king is, queen is the best invader, remember? So the king is looking a little bit naked here. Rook's gone. The bishop's coming in hot. This bishop could come in like that. Not looking good for our friend here. So just going back to the starting position. The best move here would be to play d5. Oh, he played, no, d5 here to put a pawn in the center. Right? There's 4 squares right there. That's what I recommend all beginners to do. All right, you played this move. Now we'll grab this. Now the knight's pinned. So the foundational rules are there for a purpose, you know. It's, you know, humans have learned this over 1,000 years of chess history. All right, take that, check. I think I'll maneuver my bishop around. I can also just develop this guy here. Ooh, I forgot. There is a cool check here. Bishops can be very tricky. This is a better check. I thought he could block it, but we can just take it. That's a bit faster. Now it takes, check, king moves here. Even this bishop could check, or this knight, or this bishop. Queen. Once the queen invades, it really cleans up everything. Yeah. Now, ooh, this is like almost a mate. So this is a check, and the only move is to block with the pawn, and then bishop takes his mate. Good game. Bishop mate. So clearly we learned a lot from this game as well, right? Don't bring your queen out, put upon the center, and we learned how to take advantage of somebody who, you know, breaks these opening rules, right? Developing with tempo and trapping the queen. Okay, I hope this was very helpful to you, and I'll see you in the next video. Please like and subscribe. If you liked it, just leave a comment. Helps me out a lot. Okay, goodbye.